go back home. This couldn't be my home. It must be somewhere else, or I would kill myself.
What's up, guys? I'm done with work. It's wow, it's 8 o'clock. I gotta get out of here. But anyway, I'm spending a little bit of my free time here after work, getting my lunar lander here, the Shiftpod Mini, ready for the next fire season. And there's a couple of modifications I want to do to this because when I first took it out last year, there was one thing that kind of sucked. A kind of a little design flaw. You see, when I ordered one of these, I got one brand spanking new. I bought it myself as I purchased this. And what happened was on the top there, see that thing there? What that looks like on all these walls and on the top is this little eyelet here. This is a steel eyelet that just protrudes out. And they provide a little sort of nylon lanyard there so you could pull the walls out so you could deploy it that way. And when I first saw it, I thought, well, that's kind of weird and protruding, and I don't know. But what happened was when they shipped it, it comes all folded up. It folds into itself. So this here, actually, the corner of this here rubbed up against the inner fiberglass rod inside, in between the silver material here, and created a couple of pinholes there. So I had a couple of holes from this thing, rub it onto this thing. Just from shipment coming to me, I didn't even get to use it, not once. So I was like, oh no, this is, for as much as I paid for this thing, I want this thing to be brand spanking new, you know, ready to go. So customer support, they were great. Shipped it back and they sent me out a new one. You know, I took pictures of it and I'll insert the pictures. And this is the new one. This is the one that was featured in my last video when I was doing comm support on the campfire last year up in Northern California. So this time around I got some time and I'm going to modify that so I could eliminate this eyelet here. So you see how that thing is protruding out, and I don't want this thing to be rubbing, you know, in my possession, because you know, it's going to be tossed in the back of the truck and taken all over the state and camping personally as well. And I'm not ginger-footed when it comes to gear either, so you know, I toss it around quite a bit. So this is the new modification here. So you actually do need a pull string here. I was going to use paracord, but this is just as light. So all I did was I used the existing pull tab here, and with a soldering iron I just poked the hole at the end of it there and ran the screw in there. So the only thing I replaced out really for this modification was the eyelet here, and I replaced it with an M6 by 1 inch by 35 metric pan Phillips screw machine screw here. So this is a pan head Phillips screwdriver type head here, so it's all curved. So I don't think when this thing folds up, actually the stuff in there is not going to let this rub up against the silver material around it. And I still have the functionality of my pull tab here because it's sandwiched in between those two. So on the inside, and I hope you can see this, it's the same hardware, but there's a little sort of stopper nut on the other side. I transferred it over this end here, and I put the nylon insert locking nut on the outside here, and it's probably using half half of the nut there. It's the perfect size in my opinion. So you can't see it from here, it's probably too dark, but it's working just fine on this side as well. This is what it looks like taken apart, and it's a pain in the ass to kind of take it apart in a way, because you have to kind of bend it and all sorts of weird things. So I'm going to let you guys figure that out, because I don't have the extra hand to hold the camera and do this at the same time. So you're going to have to figure that on your own. But this is it taken apart as it looks original. So you just undo this one screw here, and the nut actually screws into this body assembly here too. So this has a threaded end as well as the nut on this side here. So be careful with that. And on the inside of this, and I'll show you in a little bit here. Stand by. So here's the inside of that. It kind of slips into that mold there. And it was pretty damp because of condensation of me breathing in there, and it was high humidity, and it actually rained a few days, and there is some rust on this section here, and this is made out of steel. It's magnetic, so yeah, there's some rust there. And this bottom piece here I think is made out of some sort of aluminum. It's not magnetic, so I know it's some other material. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give a nice little coating of frog lube in there, and then assemble it back up again. So that's another modification you might want to do if you're in a high humidity, rainy area of the country. This actually was designed to go into the desert, a dry desert out in Burning Man dance festival or something like that. Okay, so here's the sequence of how to put this thing together. And basically we're just replacing this screw here that's going to poke a hole through your material there, I would imagine, and replace it with this pan head screw here. Like I said, it's an M6 by 1 by 35. So the screw, which is on the outside of the tent there, right there. The next piece will be the metal washer, this metal washer here, that's original to it. Then you'll have the pull tab. Is a rubber washer, and then it goes through the material, the hole that's already existing there, the tent itself. Then on the other side of the tent, there's this bigger washer here, rubber washer. Then the sort of support pole assembly here, hub, and the curved side is the one that's going to be up against the tent wall. Then the lock nut there, and then the nylon insert nut, locking nut here as the final piece. If you could get one of these screws maybe a millimeter or two shorter, you could probably eliminate the last nut there. In my case, the metal actually protrudes a little bit past this nut right here, so I reused the nylon insert nut because on the very edge it's pretty rounded, so if it rubs up against the material on the inside of the tent, it will not make a hole as like this might do with a jagged end on it. On this piece here, this piece actually is on the outside, that could rub, and then some of the screws here are exposed inside too, so that's another jagged end. With this setup here, it eliminates any sharp edges and stuff. So this thing's kind of feels like, I don't know, vinyl plastic. So it's really easy, in my opinion, for it to puncture. Time will tell, but so far I like it. So okay, you do this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times for the Shiftpod Mini. I would imagine you do this 8 times on the Shiftpod, and now they got an extra large, and I think that's the same number as the regular Shiftpod, but I'm not getting that. I'm good with what I got. Okay. Alright, my last piece was the dome. I got the tent on its side, so the dome is actually, as we see it, one of the walls here, 3 of the walls here. So that's so I could get better access to it. And if you do it upright, the normal position, it's pretty difficult to do this yourself. If you're doing it with a buddy, yeah, it could work out a bit better. But me doing it alone, it was much better for me to tip over the tent and do it from the side. Okay, she's all done. Here's the original side here that we started off with. Nothing protruding. It's all nice and sleek. I still got my pull tab if I need them. There's a top there, so you don't have a big hook on the top there too. So it looks like it's going to turn out okay. Functionality is still the same. I took the floor out so I could make this a lot easier. Sorry for the lighting. And here's one corner here, and it's not sharp at all. So far so good, but we won't tell until we take it out to the field and test it where it counts. So I'm going to zip up the floor and get it ready for the season. Oh, by the way, this doesn't have a lot of good circulation as far as air and high humidity. So inside the tent, as you've seen from my last video, there was a lot of humidity. I stored this away for about a month before I took it out from the bag, and I didn't let it enough time to dry out when I was, deactivated from the incident. So it was in my garage for like a good month and a half, and when I opened it up, when I remembered that I have to air this thing out, it was still damp. It was still wet inside. So I got a little bit of molding here on the side here. It's plastic, so it's not going to mess up the material or whatever. But I did get a little bit of molding here. Other than that, that's it. I just deployed it in my garage and let it sit there for like a good 2, 3, 4 days, and then it finally dried up. But point of caution there, it does collect a lot of humidity in tropical areas or whatever in the winter, whatnot. But that doesn't bother me much at all, really, as long as you take care of it. And we're ready for another season here. So I might take another few snapshots as I fold this up to see if how this thing folds up. As far as, it's not going to rub up against anything, I don't think. I mean, this hook, this loop here is not, it's not an issue anymore. So there she is, all folded up, ready to go in the bag. Everything works okay. The side walls, that screw modification that I did is within, the walls over here, so there's nothing rubbing up against that. It was mainly the top of the dome, which is this part right here. What you see here is the bottom of the floor, and the way it sort of folds up, it folds up like a lotus flower, origami or whatever. And right down here, this is the actual middle of the dome roof, the ceiling. And you can see there, the screw on the inside of the tent, where it protrudes through the tent, is right here. So they recommend not storing this with the floor attached, but if you're going out to the field, it's a pain in the ass to zip that thing up. I mean, if you're camping and stuff, no big deal, but it's much more better and faster and easier to just have everything assembled, so you could just pop it out, get in there and go to sleep. But this is going to be a challenge right here, so might need to have some sort of cap here or whatever, or do something on the inside where this, you silicone like a little soft cover here, so it won't, poke a hole through your floor there in the middle of your floor. So that's the only other thing that I would do on the next go around. Right now, this is good the way it is. So there you have it. Shiftpod modification. And I'll tell you if this thing is working okay at the end of the fire season or start of the camp season, whichever. Alright guys, see you later.